usually takes a couple of minutes. And 3, 2, 1. All right, we're back. Episode 10. Ed, we're in the double digits, man. We made it.
Finally.
Finally. We got like, as of this morning, we have like 27 subscribers. I think we have like 50 followers on Twitter. So thank you guys for all the support. It's been amazing. This has been like a lot of fun. A fun little side project for all of us. So thank you guys for making this possible. So with that being said, where we're going to actually start out is with the viewer questions that we had last week, to kind of give something back for the people that are out there supporting us. So Ed, you want to kick it off with the first question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you to everyone that sent in their questions. And if you're watching this now, make sure to do the same and we'll happily answer them in the next one. So first off, Shane Tinseth wants to know, what is your favorite Halo map ever and which is the worst? I'll throw this one to you first.
Okay. So I'm going to answer. I have to think a little bit about I focus so much on the worst part that I have to think a little bit about the best. So I'll have to, so for worst, it's a little bit of recency bias, because I think there's probably worse maps out there, but it was a combination of things. It was one, because I had to see that, like, either I was watching this map a lot or I had to actually play it a lot. But the Halo 5 map, and I might be like alone on this, Regret, I actually hated that map. I just had zero fun playing that. For me, that was the worst one, and mostly because if you're a competitive fan or you like playing competitive in Halo 5, you had to like play it and watch it.
Yeah.
I just didn't really enjoy it. For favorite, I always think about this one, man, because I grew up, like, I think our heydays are different. I know you're a bit younger than me.
Yeah, just a bit.
So it's tough because I wonder if I go with like the Halo 2 maps or I go with the Halo 3 map. I feel like I kind of lean more towards Halo 3. And my favorite map on that would have to be the Pit. And I think that's got to be it. It's either a toss up between that or Lockout from Halo 2.
Yeah, well, as you
What about
said
you?
quite rightly, there's a bit of an age difference, but
Yeah.
I still think you look pretty young, so
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. You don't
no,
have
you're
to lie to
welcome.
me on here, but I appreciate it.
So basically, when I was younger, it was mostly Halo 4 that I remember the most of from when I was younger. Within that just complex, I could not stand the map. It was way too big for me. Too big for 4v4, and I just feel like it didn't really run too well.
Yeah.
But then my favorite, again, probably from Halo 4, was Ragnarok. Just because it had so many ties. It was obviously the remake from Halo 3. And yeah, it's just the best memories when I was younger. I used to
Yeah.
just play against my brother, play against my dad. So yeah.
Is was Halo 4 kind of the first Halo that you got into, that you started playing?
Uh, well, I played towards the end of Reach, but I didn't really play too much of Reach, and then I kind of Halo 4 was like basically the one that started my
Yeah.
started my like love for it really.
Gotcha.
And I only really played the campaign on Reach. So,
Gotcha.
um, next question, DFX Pictures asks, which existing game type and map combo are the favorites of the Heatwave crew, and which pros have surprised you the most thus far within Halo Infinite? I
You
don't mind
wanna
going first.
Okay, yeah, I was like, you go ahead and go first. Let me think about this a little bit.
So, I'd probably say my favorite map and game type combination is, I want to say it's Aquarius Flag, probably, just because I think it plays smoothly, and Flag's like my favorite game type. Same on Call of Duty, it was my favorite game type when I used to be more involved in that. And I just think quite like the smaller design of Aquarius suits well. Um,
Yeah.
and then the player I'm most surprised by, I probably should say Formal, just because of like
Ooh.
obviously he made the change recently, and no one really knew whereabouts he was going to be, and he's obviously improved that optic roster quite a lot. But
Hmm.
I also want a quick shout out to one of the XSets boys, like Suppressed or Suspect. I think those two they're playing out of their mind recently.
Yeah. No, definitely. So I have to admit something with this one. So it's which existing game type and map combo. I guess you could take that any way. You could be like, we
Mm,
probably tend to watch more. I don't know about you, but I definitely watch more than I play. So I have to make a
yeah.
confession. I probably have less than like 200 hours in the game. I just don't have time to play. So for me, that one's tough because another thing is that I feel like all the game types are like there isn't one map and game type that kind of sticks out for me as far as like
Yeah.
super superior. I think they're all kind of. I think there might be one or two that's are really bad, but the rest of them are just kind of middle of the pack. Like they're good, but none of them really stand out. So for me, I have to say Live Fire
Mm,
as the map, and probably Oddball. Although I kind of I actually enjoy it when it's like Slayer on that map as well. And
yeah.
I honestly just chose it based on the only map having a sniper on the right on the map. Um,
That is true.
yeah. So for me, that's probably it. And then the pros that surprised you, I agree. Like the one that I was thinking of was Suspector,
Mm,
and for the other guys, I think what I think about when I that for that question is you have to be thinking about somebody for them to. You have to have expectations for them to like surprise you, you know.
yeah,
So
for
some of
sure,
these
for sure.
guys came on the scene and are doing really well, but I didn't know who they were before this, you know. Whereas Suspector kind of had this like real high peak in Halo 5, and then towards the end it wasn't as great, you know.
Yeah.
Like placements wise, I think he might have even I don't even know if he was like still playing up until the very end. So if you would have told me like, you know, last year at this time that he would be on a top 8 team, I wouldn't have believed it. So I think Suspector for that one.
Yeah, I
Um
mean, he is nasty.
yeah, definitely. And then so I think the other question was what are the so I don't know if this is actually a question for us. What are the requirements?
Mm,
But
yeah.
so Eric Young asked, what are the requirements and process of becoming a partner team? So I don't know if there actually is. I don't think we have an insight onto what are the requirements are.
Yeah, I think 343 are kinda keeping it under wraps a little
Yeah,
bit,
what they're
but
looking for. I think it's easy to technically qualify, but it
yeah.
might be more difficult for them to actually be selected, you know, because if you look at those teams
Mhm.
that have already been selected, they're pretty established orgs.
Yeah,
Um,
well, if I had to guess, I'd say, like, just to have, like, a decently large fan base with, like, some
yeah,
good sponsors is
and
basic. That's what I'd say.
I'm pretty sure there's got to be a commitment somewhere about money being put in, you know,
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
the ability to spend some resources on the game. As far as the requirements, or sorry, the process of becoming you, it seems as of now, it seems like you just apply. So though I think the
Yeah, I
window is
think
even open right now.
yeah, I mean, they were definitely talking about adding 1 to 3, different teams, so yeah, I mean, I guess you just have to it's kinda just like an applying process, which seems a
Hmm.
bit informal considering, like,
Yeah.
quite a big thing, but
So they opened up the process that for the second round on the
mhm.
4th, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, you know, they've been announcing this, so I was thinking like they're gonna announce it, they're gonna open the window for a short period. But I think a
Mhm.
few days ago, Tashi retweeted that it was open. So for me,
Yeah.
that says at least that it's still open, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tweet that it's closed now. You know, so
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't get the number of applications that they were looking for, or what. I don't know what
Yeah,
the
I
deal
mean,
is.
I think if they would have opened applications a couple of months ago, they would have definitely got more than they've got now, just because
Yeah.
obviously the game's gone a bit downhill, but
Yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely touch on all that. So again, thank you guys for your questions. Honestly, as of now, too, any questions that you guys have, feel free to ask. We'll definitely have a good time answering them. Okay, so let's get into it. So we had some pretty crazy results from the last
mm,
North American Open. We actually had Complexity 9-0 on Thursday, being victorious, and they were in a tournament. You know, we haven't seen the best teams in every tournament. They were in a tournament with E United. Um, some of these teams
Space
didn't.
Station.
Yeah, some of these teams didn't make it to Thursday, but yeah, there was Space Station,
Mhm.
Fnatic, the
Exit was in there.
Pioneers, Xset was in there. So for them to come out with a win is pretty crazy. I mean, was this the most unpredictable and ridiculous results of a tournament that you've ever seen?
Um, I think if you base it on the fact that Complexity went like 9-0 and they didn't drop a map or anything,
Yeah.
that's probably the most unpredictable. Because no offense to Complexity, but they've been wavering at times recently. But yeah, I mean, from what I saw, they looked pretty cohesive. Like they were one big unit. I mean, Monster was doing really well. So was
And
Triton was putting in a lot of work as well.
yeah.
I think they all kind of had their moments, but Monster was definitely what shone to me.
So it's kind of funny timing too because we'll touch on more of the Fnatic side, but
Mm,
there was a little bit of it's a little bit related. So Fnatic ended up dropping Jazero, and I think they announced it early last week.
yeah.
And then the reason that's related to Complexity is because they actually ran a few. I think they played in a tournament with him, or did they just no? Or they either played in
I
the E
think I
Series
don't. I'm not
tournament,
sure.
yeah, or just ran some scrims with him.
Hmm.
And so that kind of we were pretty sure that Monster was gonna get the spot, and then that happens.
Yeah.
Um, and man, yeah, like he anyway. So Monster ends up coming out with them on Thursday because I think he had still done the Open with them.
Hmm.
Um, man, I don't know if that like helped his performance, but you couldn't ask for like to solidify your spot on a roster that you're competing for a spot. You couldn't ask for like a better performance.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't want to say he single-handedly got him through that, but he definitely put in, I'd say, the most work out of the other.
Yeah, and I mean that's like that's their best online results to this day, you know. And
Yeah.
for you to be a part of that, I will say the thing that kind of sucks for him is that dude, the results were so wild that we
Mm.
almost have to like throw this out of like not even consider this a real tournament just because of how ridiculous, these results were with like Fnatic not even making it to Sunday, Kansas City not making it to Sunday. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what was happening with Kansas, but I saw some stuff saying they were just trying some new strats and stuff like that. So, I
yeah,
mean, this opens kind of like I don't want to say it's pointless because obviously it's not, but and like if you want to try new strats, then this would be the way to do them.
yeah, and
It
we've
doesn't really contribute to.
yeah, and some teams will comment on that, like that's kind of how that's why they don't take scrims super serious, right? Because that's your time
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
experiment, try new things, and that would make sense because they also I don't want to throw them under the bus if it wasn't them, but I think that they play like the next day or two they played in the esports arena tournament
Hmm.
and were
Yeah.
beat by like Incognito or something like that. Or maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Torrent or I think it was Incognito. But to me the only thing that's weird about them doing that is it's weird for me that you're not going to play in like the first few opens and then the first one you play in you don't make it to the because I think they're good enough to where
Yeah.
they can experiment and still make the final eight.
Yeah. It was definitely a weird like. I think it was just a strange tournament overall. I'm not really sure what happened,
There
but
was there was something in the air for sure. Because yeah,
yeah,
like I said,
1000%.
those results were absolutely ridiculous.
Just quickly, do you think like as an overall roster change, do you think Monster would be better than Zero on that complexity roster?
Um, one for one, I don't when they like announced Jazero was gonna get dropped, like I
Mm,
with teams like that, I kind of have a hard time like just seeing that piece by itself. Like so,
yeah.
Jazero's individual performance, I don't know.
Mm,
What I can say is like complexity looks real even before this. Like they look really comfortable with Monster. My only issue with that pickup was that like we talked about it, like Monster's not like you're not developing like a young new talent, right? You're
yeah.
kind you know what you're gonna get. This is a like high quality player, but at the same time like maybe somebody a bit younger that you can build into that like next superstar would be like that's where I think the place to go. So it's hard for me to say if like Jazero is a better pickup for them. I just don't
Mm,
think either one of them for me. It's even with this performance, like I don't think it's enough um to like put you into the top eight, which is what I to put you consistently into the top eight, which is what I think you need to be striving for. Do you think it's a better Who would you go with?
I think it depends what the complexity team want, whether they want like a shorter term solution to see them off to like the end of the year maybe, or
Hmm.
like a team to go to the end of the year and then carry on. But I mean, just based off his performance in the Open, I'd say Monster has to be the better of the two right now.
Yeah.
At least in performance. But I think in terms of like longevity, then maybe Zero would be better, just because I feel like maybe he might have a higher ceiling. But only time will tell. I mean, we'll see at LAN because that's what it's all about, really. But whether this complexity can actually break into top eight would be yeah, is interesting. Obviously we're gonna keep an eye on him towards like the start of Kansas.
Yeah. So we might as well. I feel like I was gonna save it for like when we go over all the roster moves, but we might as well touch on it now.
Hmm?
So the Fnatic move to bench to zero. So when I first saw it, I'm never one of those people that's kind of like against roster moves. Like I think it would take a lot for me to be like, dude, that's a bad move, you know? Because I
Yeah.
always just assume like that team knows better than the people on the outside do. But I kind of saw a
Mhm.
lot of no, I shouldn't say a lot, but I saw some backlash on this move. Did you notice that as well? People were kind of
Yeah,
didn't think
I
it was a
saw a
good
little
move by
bit. I
Fnatic.
saw a few comments that were saying maybe it's a little bit too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because obviously Fnatic's quite a big org to represent, but clearly they're not messing about. I mean, they're just trying to just get the best system that they can right now before KC.
Yeah.
But I think commonly is starting to trial with them, right?
Yeah. So I did see I did see that. So for the Open today, he's actually playing with them,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we don't know if so. Somebody played with them. Further Rhyme played with them
Hmm.
for the tournament. We don't know if he was Further Rhyme. I just so do you think it was a like you kind of said it, but you don't think that's necessarily like a bad move by them dropping to zero?
I don't think it's an awful move. I mean, I just think that team, considering what they did at Anaheim, maybe they're looking too much into online results.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely put on a show at Anaheim.
Yeah.
So maybe they could have given it until after Kansas, but
Hmm.
I guess they just didn't really want to take the risk in case it goes to shit at Kansas.
Yeah. So I see both sides of it because obviously they had really good results in Anaheim, and it could have.
Hmm.
I mean, they were really one winnable series away from top eight because I think they finished like 9 through 12.
Yeah.
But another way to look at it too is they finished top of their group, but they finished top of their group with the closest games you could ever imagine. So I think they really did it by
Hmm.
like 4 or 5 Slayer kills if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so they could have easily been kicked out of the tournament like way earlier, you know? Like if they don't close out those games and they
Mm.
get a harder matchup as their first game out of pool play. So as strong as their results looked and like as much as like they impressed us, they were far from like a perfect team for me.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
guess for me I could see either way. Like if they had stuck with this
yeah.
lineup, I'd be like, you know what? I think this lineup deserved one more go. But at the same time,
Hmm.
if like I figured like the players know best,
Yeah,
that's
for sure. I
all.
mean,
Oh, go for it.
they're gonna have a much more educated opinion than us. Like
Yeah,
we're kind of just looking at it from an outsider's perspective. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about commonly in
that's
that roster?
that's what I wanted to what I wanted to say next. Man, I don't know. Some of these teams, I feel like a couple of these teams have done it. I don't know why they're making roster moves before they have like a good idea on who they want next.
Yeah.
Like that makes zero sense to me. Because I think
Mhm.
I'll say it straight up. I don't think commonly for Jazero is a good idea. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one.
yeah, G1 with commonly underperformed. That's not his fault, right? Since then he's been streaming, so we can assume. But like the coach of G1 kind of came out and made a comment that insinuated like he wasn't the most dedicated.
Hmm.
Take that for what it's will, but like what you will, but like Comley hasn't done anything in Halo Infinite. And I'm not saying don't give him a chance, but I'm like, okay, you guys are trying to get into the top 8. Like, I don't know, man. I think you need to shoot higher. And honestly, if you don't have
Hmm.
somebody lined up that is a guaranteed like top 8 player, don't make that move.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I don't want to sound too harsh because that's not what this comment's meant to be. But some teams, and I think it's just not just in Halo. I think you see it in all esports. I think some teams kind of build a roster around achievements instead of current
Yeah.
like
Oh
instead of looking at the
for
current
sure.
result.
It's such a problem. Like people getting opportunities just because of like commonly has a gold medals from the X Games, and so
Mm,
that'll dude. It could be Halo 10, and people will be like, you know what, this guy's a gold
yeah,
medalist.
exactly, exactly.
No, it's so ridiculous, and like I think the reason I get so like I can get worked up about it is because every opportunity that you guys give to like these, and I'm not necessarily talking about commonly in this sense, but like when these players get opportunities based on like their past achievements,
Hmm.
it cuts out these like new guys, and it's like, dude, we need to develop these like new players, like give these guys some opportunities. And if we just keep recycling the same old players, like we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a vicious cycle. I mean, you've
Hmm.
got a whole roster from like incognito that are ready to go, like ready to be put into any sort of system. I
Yeah.
know Kamea almost made it onto complexity, and it is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think especially you made a good point about the G1 coach mentioning maybe his work ethic's not really there. I think
Yeah.
obviously we don't know to what extent that is, but
No.
me that's almost like a red flag already.
Yeah,
So
that could have just been like commonly kind of not being committed to G1. And
yeah,
like
yeah,
so you could read that however you want. But you never want those comments to come out of like a coach's mouth, you
exactly.
know.
And obviously the coach knows the best because he's watching over everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
So we'll see how I mean, for all we know, commonly might not be their fourth for Kansas, and
Hmm.
or he could, and they could perform extremely well. We'll just have to wait and see. Did you see some of the trash talk between Kratos and Monster after
I
the match?
saw a tiny bit. I don't think I saw all of it though. So I'll let you
S-
take this.
So, Kratos basically tweeted out like, I don't think he like added anybody, but it was
Mm.
like we need a PC check.
Oh, I
And
did see that tweet.
yeah, so he's insinuating, at first it was very vague, and then there was a reply from Monster or somebody else on Complexity,
Mm.
and then Kratos comes out and says Monster's and I'm bringing this up not like I think the allegations are legitimate, but more just because it was like funny. Um, that Kratos comes out and says that Monster's a known cheater, and then he posts an article, which I tried to go to the article and it didn't post, but basically the article, at least headline, was saying that Monster had got caught cheating in H1Z1 when he was competing. But
Yeah, I mean, that's at least something. I mean, if that's true, then it's at least a topic to bring up. But
mhm.
I think goes back to the game not being in a good state. Like things like this could be solved so easily. Like
Yeah.
for all we know, Kratos could be lying and could just be having a dig at him, which he probably is. But I mean, it's just unfortunate that these can't get cleared up.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I have no idea what, like I said, the article does not, like, as far as I know, it doesn't exist anymore. I tried to go to the link, it
Mm,
didn't work.
yeah,
But I mean, I don't take it too serious. I was just like happy for like a little bit of banter.
yeah. I mean, any back and forth on the timeline's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think we need some more of it. I think we need some more
Yeah,
pros
I think they should
that
just start outing each other.
I
Just
know,
start
man.
some storylines.
Come on, guys. Do your part. I know the game's not in the best state. Do your part.
Yeah, go
Just
on
start
lethal.
trash talking each
Blazing
other.
Yeah,
Like it can be all handshakes and love after the game, but just in the series, trash talk each other. Um, Afterwards, just give us something.
yeah. We need
Um,
E United to go against Fnatic, so Spartan
yeah,
and Envoy can just go at it.
Yeah, dude, that'll be fun. Oh, did you? By the way, did you see the new documentary from E United?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch it just yet because
Yeah,
I was quite busy over the weekend. But have you watched it?
I started to watch it this morning, and then
Mm.
I was interrupted, but it's like 40 minutes long. So it
I
started
mean,
out pretty cool.
yeah, any long form content to do with like the game or like the community is amazing. Like
Yeah,
I know Space Station are trying to follow along those lines, and I think FaZe released one recently,
they did too. They
a couple
kind
of
of did
days
one
ago.
about Anaheim as well. Theirs was like
Hmm.
pretty short. I think it was only like 10, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah,
But and I haven't got to watch that yet, but it's cool to see that. I'm excited that Kansas City should have all the um since it's like pretty open. We'll have
hmm,
we should have a lot more, you know, media
yeah.
teams there to kind of produce that kind of content. Okay, so let's go over to HCS upcoming events. So we have the NA. So obviously we have a couple tournaments today, but we have the NA Open Championship, which will run April 2nd through the 3rd. Top two teams will receive travel stipends. We also have the EU Super Event March 25th, and the top four teams will get pool play spots. So that's kind of crazy for me that it's all coming down to one tournament where that's how you get your spots.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that the EU space doesn't really have as much backing as the NA space, but
Hmm.
I think in a way it could be good. Just looking at the positives because it puts a bit of pressure on them.
Okay, so so if you placed in the top eight at what was the last land, Anaheim,
And I'm
you get, all those teams are going to get automatic pool play. Why doesn't Navi get pool play right off the bat? They placed top eight at the major and they weren't invited to Anaheim.
Yeah, they weren't invited to Anaheim because it was a regional. Um, I don't. I mean, we all expect them to get in to the major to
Yeah,
Canvas.
if they
Um,
don't get in, it's on them. I mean, either way, they're probably
yeah.
still gonna go. But I think that's crazy to me that like, because then what was it for except for just, that's a major event too.
Hmm.
That's supposed to be like the big events. I don't know. That seems kind of crazy to me. And then the other announcement was I was very confused by this, but there's an
Is it
Xbox
the version
tournament.
one? Yeah.
Yes. So there's an Xbox tournament, and I'm not even gonna say the name of the tournament because it's to me it's the dumbest name ever. Um, but there's a tournament put on by Xbox with version one kind of sponsoring it, but the winner
Hmm.
of that tournament will represent version one in Kansas City. So and I think they'll get like the travel stipend or whatever. And
Hmm.
so a couple things on that. I think that tournament would be super cool because obviously the only teams that can play in it are going to be ones that aren't already representing an org. So it'll be
Hmm.
definitely the AM teams. So that'll be fun to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I think it's just a really unique way of version one kind of dipping their toes in. That's how I kind of see this. I see this as kind of version one trialing whether they think it's like a an actual good investment. I straight away as soon as I saw it, I added the incognito roster because obviously they don't have a team right now.
Yeah.
But if I was to put my money on anyone, I'd probably say they'll get it just because they're like I'd say they're the most well known unsigned team.
Yeah, I think unless one of the other teams that's kind of has a smaller org, if they just happen to be
Yeah.
unsigned in a
Hmm.
when is it? In a few weeks, I guess.
Hmm.
Then maybe then. But yeah, I think that incognito roster is a shoe in for that. It'll be that's actually probably out of these three tournaments, that's probably the one I'm maybe most excited to watch just because to kind of see these teams get it. I like it when these teams get to play against each other and not just get bodied by,
Yeah.
Sentinels or whatever. It'll be cool to see them. For that incognito roster, man, I'm holding on hope, but I don't think them as a four is really proving anything,
Yeah.
I don't really see
I don't know what it
strides or
is. It's
yeah.
like it's unfortunate because I think they made it quite far in the Open. I think they got top 6 in the Open last week, which is pretty big for them. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. I don't think the state of the game really helps with that. A lot
No.
of a lot of orgs don't really see it as a good investment right now. But
Oh,
version 1
really?
are pretty established.
Yeah. Um, yeah, really right now you have to ask yourself like, if an org signs this team, are they really bringing value to the org? And that's not just necessarily
Yeah.
on the all on the players back. Like the game's not necessarily in the best state. The tournaments are, we're in a weird spot with these tournaments as far as like
Mhm.
they're not going to be representing the org that often unless you're counting these online opens, but I haven't been paying attention to the viewership numbers, but I'm guessing they're trending the same way as the team entries, which is just lower and lower. Like I
Mhm.
think this week we have like 130 something teams, down like
Yeah,
50 from last week.
do you think um European teams could compete in that version 1 tournament? Probably not, right?
I feel like it said it, right?
I
Didn't it?
I didn't read it as thoroughly as some
Hmm.
other people might have, but
My
that could
only
be a good opportunity.
Yeah, my only issue with that is then, with this game that's so weird online, now you're gonna have people that are like, who's gonna have
Yeah,
the
filtering.
advantage? Yeah. So it's yeah, there's always some issues. Um, my last thing on that, you kind of mentioned it too. I think it'd be a good time now to bring it up. So we have version 1 kind of co-sponsoring that tournament, right?
Yeah.
And then we also have a big acquisition by Vexed Gaming
Yeah.
picking up the Mocket roster.
Mhm.
Do you think those are
Think
both kind of like you mentioned, like dipping their toe into the water? Well, obviously Vexed is like jumping in,
mhm.
but do we see is that like kind of a sign of partnering teams, or are you not reading it like that?
It's a step in the right direction. I mean, Vext have basically absorbed that whole org, so all of their fans are gonna be now looking at Vex and supporting Vex as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so that's the whole org. It's not just the Halo team.
I'm pretty sure it's the whole org. I read the article, I kind of flicked through it a bit, but when it came to the Halo part, I knew that the Mocket Halo team is now going under Vexed. So that I think is definitely a step in the right direction for them. But right now, I don't really see any EU teams other than Ascend getting partnered,
Yeah,
just because of how big they are nowadays. But yeah, I think organizations are definitely kind of gearing themselves towards pushing for a partner spot, but
yeah,
it's just a case of how many partner spots are there going to be like in total? Because can't partner too many orgs because then like the valuable like being
yeah.
partnered is so valuable it would just lose value basically.
Exactly. Yeah, if you have everybody partnered, then being
Exactly.
partnered
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think they should get to a place where they do it. I don't know why that like they do it in Valorant where
Mm.
these organizations put on a lot of tournaments. Like there's always tournaments that
Yeah.
are being put on by specific orgs. I wish that some of the partner teams were kind of doing this. And maybe when the game's more stable they will be, but like if Navi puts on like a tournament.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a way to get more eyes on the youth. Like, you see a lot of other esports doing that.
Mhm.
Um, but mostly it's just external organizations like esports arenas throw a lot of
Yeah,
money,
they
and
no, they
they've
do
got
a
a team,
lot. Mhm.
but they're not partnered. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they're kind of in
I
a weird
saw
spot too.
I saw someone on Twitter saying it'd be really cool um if 343 released kind of throwback skins of like the older, more like notorious teams like Final Boss. If there was a Final Boss skin in a game, I think that would obviously that would I want to say that would be the most sought after,
Yeah.
probably more than the Optic one.
Yeah,
Um,
if 343 likes making money, they should definitely do something like that cuz I
for
think
sure, for sure.
yeah, I think those would go like quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably buy one.
And then you could all that money could just go towards like HCS.
Yeah, exactly. Like they could use that for crowdfunding.
No, that'd be that would be super cool. just touching on the Vex one last time. I think the only way they're getting into that partner situation is if Quadrant and Ascend don't apply.
Yeah, which I don't
Which
really see happening.
no,
Surely.
yeah, I think both those. I'm assuming both those orgs probably probably put in application. And
Yeah,
then
who doesn't like money?
yeah. Um. Okay, so let's start. Let's talk a little bit about like the state of the game. So every week, man, it's just kind of like doom and gloom. There's blog post like depending on how you look at it, 343 are communicating a little bit more in the recent weeks, but based on the fans' reactions that I'm reading, it's not enough.
Hmm.
Where are you standing on it? Like what I know you've been reading like the blog posts.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to. I've read them through like multiple times just to see if there's any more information I can get from them because, like, they release like these huge paragraphs, but a lot of it is just either doesn't answer the question or
Yeah.
just isn't related to what the community have asked for, or want, or any of
Mhm.
that. Like they released, they released in one of their latest ones is about their anti-cheat system, and it basically just said they trust their anti-cheat system and like they think it's been working well, and there's no like they don't see a need for bringing in like a kernel level anti-cheat like Warzone or anything like that. And I think it's just not really what the community wanted to hear. Like the 343 are communicating by releasing these blog posts, but they're kind of walking on eggshells around like the crucial topic. That's
Yeah.
where I'm coming from, at least. I don't know how you feel about it though.
So I'll be honest, I haven't been reading the blog posts. I've just been looking at your reaction to them and you kind of summon them up.
Hmm.
But I kind of feel like that's kind of been their fashion for a while is these like long like that's not any new tactic of theirs is these really long like articles that don't really get to the point, you know? Or there might be
Yeah.
like the TLDR on it might have one bullet point that you actually are like, okay, that's good news or that's something, but the rest of it's just kind of fluff.
Hmm.
Um yeah, it's unfortunate. Do you have you been playing much? How do you feel on like a server?
I've been playing here and there. Like I've been pretty busy the past couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
it still just doesn't feel like what I'm used to, if that makes sense. I
Mhm.
feel like it's, and I've seen this going around on the timeline quite a lot. Like a lot of people feel like Infinite's still in the beta stage,
Yeah.
like it's not ready to be released still, which is crazy because it's been out for however long. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it just doesn't feel right for some reason. I can never really put my finger on it, but obviously we all know like the typical angler, all the hacks, like issues like this, which
Yeah.
are still relevant today, no matter like how much 343 say they're working on it, they're fixing it, whatever. It's
Yeah.
still relevant. Um, but yeah, just something about it doesn't feel right. And I don't know, a lot of people compare it to how Halo 5 was, and Halo 5 felt great, especially towards the end. Like it felt really like a complete game, but
Yeah.
I just don't hold out a lot of hope right now.
Yeah, it's kind of comparing it to Halo 5 cuz Halo 5 for me what there was a lot of issues with the game, but it was
Mhm.
the core gameplay. And it was
Yeah.
just more of the issues for me was it just wasn't like there was things that I just didn't like, but
Mhm.
I think the sentiment behind it was like there's probably one of the best online Halos. Um there were like server issues sometimes.
Mhm.
There
Yeah.
was online problems, but not any more than any game has. You know, that was never like a constant thing with like Halo 5. At least
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe my memory's not serving me well. But it's just weird to be like that we're in that state with Halo Infinite. I almost wonder if like you're saying that it feels like it's in the beta. I almost wonder if they would have announced it like that this is the beta if just the optics of that would have been better than to be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
the game's released. Here you guys go."
Yeah. I mean, just annoying because a lot of it feels like it was rushed. Like they kind of threw the game out there without getting into the finite like details. I've seen a lot of people are still complaining about the ranked, even though they released like that blog a few weeks ago
Yeah, that was the
talking
other
about
one.
their rank system. Um, it's just a lot of it was just bullshit. Really, it doesn't like help at all.
Yeah.
Rank system's still broken. I'm still like pros are still getting in games with like platinums and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's just for some reason they're sticking by what they know. Like they're pretty stuck up about the game, I guess. They don't really wanna make a lot of changes. Um
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely it's weird, man. We've brought this up before. It's kind of weird that you don't even know who to talk to about it either. Like
yeah,
when it comes to like the competitive scene, like Toshi's kind of the over person, but there's like nobody at like our level that we could just message, right? Like I know people blow up like
exactly.
Unishek and I think some
Mhm.
of the other people, but even with them, it's like we don't like Heinz is on the team, but there's nobody in their description that it's like, hey, if you have issues or if you think something's like wrong, go to this person, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and
So
yeah, I know, like, I can't remember what episode we talked about in, might have been like episode 3 or something like that, but at one point they did release a survey to like all the pros. They said the pros like, can you? I think it was like all the people who were at, might have been Anaheim or like the top 16 or something like that. They released a survey out to them saying like, give us your issues, like give us your feedback, and we'll work on it. And since then, no one's even like talked about it. No one from 343 even mentioned that they've kind of like received the responses. I
yeah,
don't know. It seems like a lot of what they're doing nowadays, especially with the blogs, is kind of for like they're trying to save face. Though they're trying to make it all seem as though they're trying hard to work on it, but they're just.
yeah, I think there's probably a lot of issues going on internally because
Hmm.
I wouldn't even mind if they were just working at like a snail's pace, but it doesn't seem like there's any progress, you know?
Yeah.
And I think at the beginning of the year, I was thinking more like, okay, when we get to whatever it's called, like phase two or whatever it is, the second season,
Hmm.
that's when they're gonna
Yeah.
have this gigantic release. But I'm like, I don't even know if that's the case. I think they might just have release Forge, which will be great and fix some issues, but I don't really see it fixing all these problems. Not anymore, at
Yeah.
least.
They mentioned Forge in like one of their blog posts, like briefly. It was maybe a paragraph or something. But I've seen some people, and I kind of want to believe it too, about them releasing a big update when the campaign becomes co-op, when like
Oh
that
yeah.
update comes out, which
Hmm.
is in I don't know how many days, maybe like 80 or something like that. When that comes out, they're gonna release a big update, but just from like past experience, I don't see that happening.
It
So
like nothing. None of what they've done to this point would give you like confidence that that's actually going to happen.
exactly, it's
Yeah.
like the game's killing itself at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough, man. Like, in some aspects, like when overall the roadmap, like from a Halo competitive standpoint, we're like enjoying. It's just like these
Hmm.
other, and some of the stuff is just like, it seems so ridiculous, like they still have the glitch with the teams, like changing teams,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're trying to start a custom lobby, like just like little things like that. It's like, dude, we can't just get like a hot fix for that, you know?
Exactly, like, it seems so, like such a small issue compared to, like, the bigger issues of the game, like, they could just release an update where they fix, like, some minute problems like that one, but
Yeah, just like little
it
tiny,
just
little tiny things.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It's just I think what's disappointing too is there's different personalities in the space and there's people that
Mhm.
are right off the bat were like, 343 like ruined Halo and blah blah blah. Like that's been the same
Yeah.
conversation forever.
Mhm.
But there's also people that gave them the benefit of the doubt for a while, and those people are starting to change. The content creators are out there
Yeah.
like
Well,
hey,
yeah, I've seen sorry,
no no
you
you're
can
no
carry
you're
on.
good.
I was just gonna say some content creators now have just stopped playing the game altogether,
Yeah.
and, like, a lot of, like, the amateur players now have just kind of, I don't want to say given up because obviously I don't blame them for it, but they're just not playing the game anymore now.
Hmm.
Really don't blame them. Like the game's unplayable if you want to go pro right now.
Yeah. I think Mikwin's like a good example. He literally stepped away from working for 343 just because he knew like he had to wait a year before he could compete. And it seems
Yeah,
like, dude, everything I see on him, he's like he'll tweet out like, "Hey, I like I can't play today. Like, it's just
yeah.
too much." And just
Exactly.
and he's
Like,
been hypercritical of like 343 lately, or probably for the past like month or two. And I'm
mhm.
just like, dude, I don't think he thought that he wouldn't have quit his job if this is the state he thought the game was going to be in, a couple months down the
Yeah.
road. So I don't know what's going on, and like the silence from them is kind of worrying,
Mhm.
but we'll see. Do you think are we getting a battle royale, and do we need one?
I think it'll, if the reason that 343 haven't been doing anything on the game was because they're busy with the battle royale side of it, I'd kind of at least be somewhat happy for that because at least they're doing something with their time.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of do we need one, I think it helps no matter what. It's gonna help. We saw with Warzone in Call of Duty, like it's gonna help.
Yeah.
Um, I saw a really cool concept on the timeline where someone said, imagine if you're going to forge and make your own battle royale maps. That way, like the game would never like become stale.
Yeah.
Um, like Warzone did before they made Caldera. So I think that's a really cool idea, but it's just there's no action being taken on it, which is
Mhm.
just it's unfortunate. But I kind of want to hear from your side because you've been involved in the Halo community for longer, so you might have more like deeply rooted issues with it.
Yeah, so I don't honestly, man, that when they at first when Halo was first going to drop, I would have said no, like it doesn't need one. And I
Hmm.
don't know if it's just every day reading that like we need a BR, we need a BR is like
Yeah,
changing
yeah.
my mind. But I'm on the same lines as you. Like I was never against it. It was never something I was gonna be like,
Hmm.
don't do it. It'll like ruin the game. And there's been some recent leaks showing a battle royale like game mode that you could create.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you say that about the map. I hadn't thought about that. That is a really cool idea.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm hoping with the amount of time they're taking on this forge that that would be something that will be in it, that they can design
Hmm.
maps that are that big.
Yeah, exactly. And they released that. Remember that limited time game mode they released? Forgotten the name of it, but you could actually respawn your teammates if like you
Yeah,
walked up to
attrition?
their
Is
what
that what it's called?
that rings a bell.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk up to your teammates, their body, and like almost revive them, which is definitely heading in the direction of a BR. Like
That's true,
obviously that's
yeah.
one of the main concepts,
Well,
but
you have to ask yourself too, because we had Warzone, and it's
mhm,
like how much different, like how much extra work would you have to take something would it be to take something like Warzone and turn that into a battle royale? Like
yeah.
I can't think it would be that much harder. And
The only problem. Oh, sorry, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, I was gonna say the thing with bringing up like Warzone 2 for like when I was talking about sorry when I was
Mhm.
talking about Warzone right now I was talking about
Yeah.
Warzone from Halo 5.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
changing that into like a battle royale, I don't think that would be that different. But bringing up Call of Duty Warzone, that has been keeping the Call of Duty franchise alive for like the last few years. Like they've been relying on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing for Halo. It's like this could be, if we had one that was functioning right now, it could be doing the same thing. Like people would be like, okay, the game's kind of shit right now, but at least we
Hmm.
got this battle royale to play.
Yeah. I mean, it would. I think it would just help. All in all, it would help. But the only issue, like the main issue that I'm struggling to get my head around is if they're so bad at making updates for multiplayer and there is a big hacking issue within multiplayer, imagine if that takes like a scale of a BR. Like currently there's not much stopping people from hacking. And
Yeah.
that's what almost killed Warzone at one point.
Yeah.
So if they don't fix this issue, like now at least, it's gonna all of that's gonna go into BR. So
Yeah, exactly.
and then they're just gonna take like what 2 years to fix the BR.
Yeah.
So
Dude, who knows,
it's
man? Well,
just
I think that they're trying to make this game last a lot longer than they typically do, right? Didn't they say something
and they're
like
not
10
doing very
years?
well at the moment with that. I can't
No, no,
lie.
no. I know. We're almost at the point where we're like, would it have been better to not have released it yet? You know?
Yeah,
I'm glad they did as a person that just
Yeah.
enjoys playing it once in a while, but in terms of your brand and your product, a lot of that just comes down to what the way people view the game,
Hmm.
and it's at a very low point right now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They pushed it back like 2 or 3 times. I want to know what the state of the game was right when they
Oh
before they started
man.
pushing it back. It must have been awful.
I
It
know,
must have been
yeah.
unplayable.
Yeah. No, really, like I think that's what everybody's got to be thinking, like how crazy was this game
Yeah.
before that this is the
Yeah.
final product. Um okay, I think that's it for state of the game. Let's touch
Mm.
on the roster moves that we haven't mentioned yet. So Bomex, we did mention that he was scrimming with BBG. I think this is going to be the first time that they're entering the Open together, right? Or were they playing as a four for the last Open?
I know they played in the last one. I
Oh,
think it
okay.
was as a four, and they got knocked out first. Didn't they finish top?
Yeah, they.
No, they got knocked out first round. I know that.
Oh, okay. All right. So they didn't. So that's nothing super new. They didn't have the best performance
No.
last Open, and neither did Space Station. Well, I guess at least Space Station made it to top 8, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but going against Complexity has obviously Space Station have got a new roster, but still, I'd be looking to try and take that map, that
Yeah.
series pretty easily. But
Yeah.
no, they got swept. So
Well, you're hoping like the honeymoon stage is real, you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You want that new team to just be like firing on all cylinders. But
Yeah, I guess they just something went wrong. I mean, I tried to pay attention, but obviously there was a lot of different games going on.
yeah. Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
I don't know.
So, Swish is also playing with G1 for the Open. We talked about it last week. He's been scrimming with them. He also scrimmed a little
Mm.
bit with Fnatic. And I'll be honest, I was a
Yeah,
little bit more excited about that than I was about commonly playing with Fnatic.
yeah, I think it's unfortunate for Commonly, but Wish is I want to say he's a bigger name right now in the community. Not as
Hmm.
a whole, because obviously Commonly
Yeah.
got a much bigger name overall,
Yeah.
but Wish right now has just got more clout almost than Commonly does.
Well, I think
So
another thing too is that Oxygen are just kind of reinforcing that because
mhm.
they've not gotten any better without him.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they're like, and I don't think it's all on their signing, but I don't think they're the as good of a team as they were with Swish.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet from Common, or Oxygen's Common, not Commonly,
Hmm.
um, saying that he loves his roster. Like
Yeah,
now, I saw that. So
man,
clearly, I mean, they
they're
must be
the
doing.
most ride or die like
Yeah.
roster I think that we have in the game. They'll But even with Switch, like I felt like even a couple days before like they announced the drop, you kind of always see those positive things, you know. So it kind
Yeah,
of
I know
makes
what you
it like
mean. I know
hard
what
to
you
read
mean.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we don't know how to interpret it, but yeah, they're like confident in their new roster. I'll get to them in a second, or I guess we can switch over to them now. But do you like this just to touch on? Do you like G1 with Swish?
I think I think Swish is more. I think Swish would perform better in Fnatic personally,
Yeah,
but I think I think G1 and Manu, if he ends up signing for G1, I think that's probably better than Commonly. I want to say at least right now.
yeah.
I think I prefer to have Swish in the roster than Com.
I do too. And another thing too is I think Swish and like Spartan are actually like roommates. And not to say that that means like he's gonna just absorb some of Spartan's energy, but just more like, dude, you're like when you're living with somebody that's also doing the same thing, that's going through that
Yeah.
grind. Like when Swish is feeling like he doesn't want to play and he sees Spartan jumping on, like
Hmm.
like you're gonna feed off that, and I think that can be like
For
really
sure.
beneficial. I like where his chances of really elevating his game due to that. I do like I think G1 has been making the right moves. I do like the fact that they signed Tony and they haven't signed Swish yet, but
Yeah.
I think those are good pickups. We'll see if it's enough to make them, competitors. But I
For
do
sure.
like those
I think that
moves.
Tony move is. I think that Tony move was probably one of the best. roster moves we've seen so far. Um,
Yeah. Oh, you're that high
Probably
on Tony?
outside of top 6, I wanna say
Yeah.
it was one of the better roster moves. I think he kinda just brings a lot of energy to that team, and now if you add Swish, I think Swish has got a lot of potential, especially, like, in the future, so I think if Swish does end up signing for this G1 roster, I think G1 I don't wanna call anything too early, but I wanna say G1 might be better than Ox. I kinda wanna say that. Say
Yeah,
that right.
I think that's fair, and that's a good. I think those teams should be battling for a
Mhm,
spot. So I think that's a decent assumption. So let's switch over to Oxygen because they made it official,
mhm,
signing Joey Cherish, who's been playing with them for a while now, and we all assumed
yeah,
that it was just going to be official. One thing I'll start out with saying I did watch. Um, Vandal came out with a podcast, and they talked about
mhm.
their roster. They had a roster for um the first
Raleigh?
yeah for Raleigh for the first
Raleigh.
event, and Joey Cherish played on that roster with Carmea, and
Mhm.
they were really high on Joey Cherish. They were saying that he that outside of the server too, he has like a big like they kind of said he has like a superstar mentality. Like they think he has a they just see a lot of potential for him as like pretty much as a player, but also as like a personality in the scene. So I thought that I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a big compliment for this guy. So what do you think about? I mean, I guess we've already like talked about it, but um, I still don't see like amazing pickup. I'm glad they're getting some young blood in there. At first, I was a little bit. I hadn't heard of Joey Cherish. I hadn't seen anything from him, but the more
Yeah.
I see, the more comfortable I am with this pickup. I don't think it's enough, but it's cool to see them giving some young talent a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see this Oxygen roster as well. We mentioned it earlier. They're quite like ride or die. They're pretty close. Like they're like a tight knit roster, which is why we were so surprised when Wish ended up leaving that roster. Um, so I think they can get this talent in Joey Cherished, and he is what like Vandal said he was, like a big personality. I think that could be pretty beneficial, not just on a performance level, but as like a notoriety level for Oxygen. Because I know some people might not be as aware with Oxygen as others.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
and
think,
it's like a giant org. I don't think anybody realizes.
mm,
Like I
yeah, like,
think last year or the year before they got bought at like $25 million like investment or something like that into that
hmm,
organization.
yeah,
Like
exactly. And
it's a giant
now
org.
they're like, yeah, like they've got a team in Call of Duty, a partner team, which is like I think it's like 25 million to even buy into the spotlight. I know they've got like the Gronkowski brothers working with them.
Yeah.
Um, so they're like a big well-known franchise.
Hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I think if they can, well, we saw with Common said that he loves this roster. Clearly, just judging off that, it means they're learning a lot and hopefully they're improving. And I think it'd be interesting to see in the next Open just how much have improved. Because
Yeah.
I mean, judging off the tweet, they're going to be better than they were. So we'll see if it lives up to that.
Yeah. They're at the point too that you know you can preach all day about like loyalty and like
Hmm.
being a cohesive unit. At some point, that I think that starts holding you back.
Yeah,
And I'm just wondering, I'm like, one more bad land, what are you guys gonna do? You know?
yeah.
Because if you
Similar
think,
to I was going to say similar to Phase. I feel like Phase are kind of around.
yeah, and FaZe is actually playing in the tournament today, which is interesting.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, I
so I wonder
think
if they're just trying to get some of the dust off. I kind of don't. I think I don't see FaZe performing as well as I think they're gonna kind of take a downhill
yeah,
turn.
I don't want to speak badly on them because obviously we don't have as much like internal knowledge with them, but just judging off, especially their past result at Anaheim, it wasn't what they hoped.
Yeah.
Oh wait, where did they place at Anaheim?
Oh, they actually did pretty well, didn't I think they
Yeah,
got
I
like
think I got.
fourth or third.
Yeah, I think I was talking about Space Station now in my head for some reason. But yeah, something about their roster, I don't see them working as well as they should.
I think honestly, I don't think that Snipedown's ever gonna be like committing 100% to this game. And I think that's kind of what's
Yeah,
gonna hold him back.
I know he's still pretty involved in Apex. I
Yeah.
saw he was doing a watch party for like the big ALGS tournament.
Mhm.
I don't know where his head's at, but maybe Pistola's looking at that as a chance because we haven't really talked about Pistola in a while.
I mean, dude, listen, the pros can do whatever they want, but like I just wonder what they think, if they think past their career at all.
Mm,
Because I'm like, Pistola, you probably have like the big, arguably like the biggest fan base in, at least in the Halo scene.
hmm.
But I'm like, you do nothing to bolster that, to try to turn that into a career after Halo. Nobody knows anything about if he's under contract, if he's still playing. Like,
I think he's got quite like a crazy personality. Anyway, he's
yeah.
known for being like I don't want to say loose cannon, but like yeah,
Hmm.
he's kind of got like a really interesting personality. So I think
Yeah, he's had a
if he
couple
was streaming
moments.
consistently,
Hmm.
if he was streaming consistently, and obviously he was performing like he was doing well in streaming and stuff, I think that definitely helps an
Yeah.
organization look at you as an option.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
and I mean, dude, for all, because he doesn't stream right now, so for all I
mhm.
know, some people don't like to stream, like, and they don't want to
Yeah.
do that. So for all I know, he's on that page, but
Hmm.
the point's gonna come when you can't compete any longer, no matter what. And if you want to stay in esports, like at the very least, like keep your brand, your name level as high as possible. And I'm like, not saying you have to do these cheesy tweets every like other day, but you could do something. There's different ways to
Yeah.
like go about it. I don't know. It's crazy to me that, especially somebody that's on Optic, like, dude,
Yeah.
why don't you
That's what I
talk
was
to?
gonna say.
Yeah, go,
I think I
go
think
for it.
Optic are like Optic are a pretty I think they've said it themselves. They like doing content and they're quite a content based team. So I thought as soon as he joined Optic again, he would have been on it. He would have been like kind of hit the ground running like Lucid and Trippy and APG are.
Yeah,
Um, building a brand whilst you've got the chance to, so that no matter if you end up leaving, you still bring like at least half or three quarters of those viewers with you.
yeah,
But I mean, I don't really know what his. He might just not like streaming. Some competitive players are like competing as my job, so
yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do, which is fair enough. But
Yeah, and we're talking about him, but it more just applies to the general sense of like players. It's
yeah,
just like if somebody, dude, an org like Optic, perfect example. Like, you're telling me you can't tell them like, hey, I don't like streaming, but like, I'm playing all the time. I'm gonna record my clips, and then
hmm,
weekly, can you put out my highlights?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
dude,
exactly.
that's so easy. They have editors on standby. Like, they could probably teach you
Yeah,
how to edit your own videos if you want. Like,
hmm,
I don't know. It's just crazy to me that like the people that actually get, I think players focus so much on this like monthly stipend, and they don't,
yeah,
some of the other orgs can provide like other things, or they don't care about the other things. All they think about is like competing. It's like, dude, think about the future, guys. Like, you're gonna
yeah. You
have to
have
do
to.
something eventually. But anyways, I think that pretty much like wraps it up. I think we've been going for about an hour. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. No, just make sure everyone keeps staying active. We do check comments. We do reply.
Yes.
We want to do as well as we can. So definitely, definitely make sure to get in the comment box below, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, um, because we do like to post every now and again on Twitter. Um, but yeah, just get involved really.
Yep, well said. Yeah, I think that's it for me too. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.